च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायु न वा सप्तधातु न वा पञ्चकोश न वाक्पाणिपादं न चोपस्तपायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागो न मे लोभमोहो मदोर्नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धो न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्
Good morning. It's great. It's a great feeling to be here back in Lake Nona at the Human Performance Center and the Chopra Mind Body Zone. And I just want to thank you, Jay Groves, for being a leader here, and Gloria for supporting everything we do, Ponacha and the team, Gabriella, and all of you, amazing yoga teachers and meditation teachers right here. So, as you know, the word Sangha means community, and this is our community. This is the headquarters of our community, but that community is growing globally right now. We're online, and thousands of people are joining us from all over the world, from Latin America, from Russia, from Asia, from Africa, from the Middle East. So the Sangha is growing. The word Sangha, as I said, means community. Satsanga means a community exploring the truth. So this is what we do here. Explore what we think the truth could be. Truth not in how we communicate with each other, but ultimate truth. Truth with a capital T. What is reality? What is fundamental reality? And this idea to know that by knowing which everything else is known is a very ancient idea in the wisdom traditions. Buddhism, Kashmir Shaivism, Vedanta, the Gnostic Gospels, the Sufi traditions of Islam, they all talk about this. But I'm right now quoting directly from the Vedanta. It says, know that one thing by which everything else is known. And what is that one thing? Existence. What is that one thing? Reality. We know things exist. This chair exists, this hand exists, this nose exists, this iPhone exists. So they're all part of existence. What is existence? If we know that, then we know the nature of everything else, the hand, the phone, everything. So that's the basis of satsang. Today I want to talk about three things. First thing, very briefly, because we're reaching a global audience right now. The first thing I just want to mention is this is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. This today and this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and so we are promoting the well-being of men globally. They deserve it because they need it more than anybody else. And so if you check out Chopra Foundation, neveralone.love, other social media, you'll be seeing a lot of information on what we can do to improve mental well-being for men, for everyone, but this month the focus is on men. The second thing I want to do today is actually explore with you what we are calling the longevity experiment, which is being launched right from here in Lake Nona. I believe January 1, we will launch it. You're all welcome to be part of it. There'll be three tiers to it. A lot of the content will be totally free of charge. Some content will be a very minor fee, very minor fee, maybe $5, $6 a month, and then we'll have another section for the longevity experiment, which will include all kinds of studies, genetic markers, looking at stem cells, looking at information technologies, looking at inflammatory markers, looking at gene expression, looking at the microbiome, but looking at longevity from every aspect. Why bother doing this? And then the third tier will be, well, we'll be engaging live with teachers and experts in longevity. So why are we doing this? I mean, does it really matter if you live 30 years or 100 years? You know, in the context of cosmic time, the difference between 30 years and 100 years is nothing. You know, it's like a flash of lightning in the sky. A lifetime is like a flashing dream. 30 years, 20 years, 100 years, 200 years. In cosmic time, it makes no difference. And, you know, we think of ourselves right now, most at this time with pandemics going on and mass migrations and climate change and economic disasters. Why do we even bother? You know, the many generations have come before us, trillions of people, many will come afterwards. The reason to do the longevity experiment is actually to ultimately get to what we're doing all the time, trying to figure out what is ultimate reality, what is the source of every experience we have, every experience, the experience of our body, the experience of our mind, the experience of the world. What is the source? Starting back to what I started with, know that one thing, by knowing which everything else is known. So the reason, ultimate reason to do the longevity experiment is number one, to improve the quality of our life. Doesn't matter how long you live, but there's today people are talking about health span, not lifespan, health span. A lot of people live a long time, but they have no health. They're on a respirator, hospice, suffering from cancer, terminal disease. And even though lifespan is extending, health span is what needs to extend. And ideally speaking, according to the wisdom traditions, even in this age of ignorance, a human being should be able to live about 100 or more and contribute to the world's evolution and be useful and be joyful and choose to die in what is called Mahasamadhi, the big meditation, comfortably. I've mentioned many, many times before that only 5% or less of disease related gene mutations are fully penetrant in that they guarantee the disease. It's less than 5%. The other mutations that are associated with disease, including cancer, heart disease, autoimmune illness, degenerative diseases, frequency of infections, all these chronic ailments, even though you may have a gene mutation for that particular disease, the expression of the gene can be modified. And now we know that 99.9% of the genetic information in our body is not even human, it's bacterial. And if we can change 99.9% of our genetic information, and genes are the software, and your body is the 3D printout, a changing 3D printout, you should be able to print out a different body, right? 99.9% of genes can be changed. Now there's 0.1% of genes, 25,000, that you got from your parents, you can't change them. And that's the history of our parents that we have inherited in a way. Every experience that our ancestors, not just our parents, their parents and their parents and their parents, going back all of biological evolution, we have inherited genetic information. And the 25,000 genes that you have, which you acquired at the moment sperm and egg met together, that fertilized egg, that's 25,000 genes. There are 2 million to 20 million extra genes, which can be changed. The 25,000 genes that you got from your parents or ancestors, you can't change them, but you can change their expression. And that's the new science of what we call epigenetics. We already have published work now that a week-long retreat in meditation, practicing a few breathing techniques, doing some yoga, changing your diet can upgrade the human genes. So we saw in our studies published in peer-reviewed journals, including Nature, Translational Psychiatry, one of the highest impact peer-reviewed journals, that within 1 week you could change the expression of the human genes and you could increase telomerase levels by 40%. Telomerase is the enzyme that controls genetically how long you live. So as we grow older, telomere length decreases, telomerase levels decrease, and then there's something called the genetic clock determined by what biologists call the Hayflick limit, at which point you die. Okay, so death has to happen because without death, there's no life. Life is the continuum of birth and death. In fact, in biology, there's a condition, there's a term called apoptosis, programmed cellular death. And when programmed cellular death doesn't happen, that's called cancer. Cancer is the loss of the memory of death, literally. Once again, cancer is the loss of the memory of death. So stomach cells die every 5 days. Why? So you have new ones. Skin cells die once a month. If they didn't, your skin would be like that of a crocodile, which crocodile skin takes a long time to die. Okay. So everything in our body is constantly being born and dying. Even the DNA, the genes that obviously hold the memories of millions, if not billions of years of time, even the genes, the actual carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen comes and goes every 6 weeks. So your DNA today is not what it was 6 weeks ago. Even your skeleton, it seems so hard, solid. Calcium, phosphorus, oxygen, nitrogen, few other trace elements that you could buy in a hardware store for $10. This body requires $10 of raw material, literally. So those things, elements and forces, atoms, molecules, force fields, gravity, these are fundamental forces of nature. They don't get old. Atoms don't get old. Molecules don't get old. Actually, unicellular organisms don't get old. Today, if you see an amoeba or a protozoa, some unicellular organism, amoeba has never suffered death other than being killed accidentally or you put toxins. But today's amoeba is the first amoeba that ever lived because amoeba just divides. Asexually, it divides itself. So goes on forever. Atoms don't die. Molecules don't die. They just disappear into what we call the unmanifest field of possibilities and then they reemerge. So why do we? Why do by as there's complexity, there are errors, including mutations. The more complex an organism gets, more errors. So, in the longevity experiment, of course, we want to look at all the modern technologies, stem cells, inflammation, anti inflammatory practices, including anti inflammatory diet, exercise, vagal stimulation, mind body coordination, gene expression, stem cell research, stem cell application, whether it's for the skin. We'll be talking about that. Stem cells for the skin. So your skin regenerates periodically, and we'll be introducing that. Also, proteins that are derived from plants, like Beyond Meat kind of proteins, that can give you any flavor of protein, any meat that you enjoy, but derived only from plants. Just rearrange the amino acids and create the right protein. So all of that we'll be doing. But then we're going to be going deeper, and we'll be going deeper into the nature of fundamental reality. And when we combine what we know about fundamental reality, and then we combine that with what we know about modern science, I think we'll have a very integrated approach to longevity. Once again, in the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But in the small scheme of things, it does. If we are healthy and we are joyful, if you have a joyful, energetic body, if you have a love and compassion in your heart, you have a clear mind, you have lightness of being, then you're being good to yourself. And if you're good to yourself, you'll be good for the world. And as many people who improve their health span as possible, it'll help us move in the direction of a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. That's been the mission of the Chopra Foundation since day one. How can we reach a critical mass of human consciousness so that we can at least aspire to a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world? So, as we embark on this experiment, bringing in the best of science and everything we know about fundamental reality, this combination would create a new era of health span and a new era of how we look at ourselves. From time to time, people have been able to make major contributions to civilization in the latest part of their life. Michelangelo, George Bernard Shaw, so many people we can think of. Picasso, in recent times, made major contributions in their fields in their eighth, even ninth decades. Even recently, people like John Wheeler, my own professor at Tufts, they're in their 90s. And my professor who trained me is now 97, and he still teaches at NYU, comes every year and engages in debates about the nature of consciousness and brain and so on. So these are luminaries. There's no reason why we can't be like these amazing examples, and not to mention the rishis of the Upanishads and the sages of the East and the biblical prophets of the Old Testament were supposed to have lived a long, long lifespan and health span. So that's the longevity experiment. And if you want to participate in it, please just send an email to longevity at choprafoundation.org. So once again, longevity at choprafoundation.org. Now, I'm going to link that to a new concept, to a new idea that connects with what we call fundamental reality. I'm going to link that to a new initiative that we're launching that you haven't heard about. And I'm mentioning it now for the first time publicly in this forum. And that's called Seva Love. and meta-human adventures in metaverses, not even the metaverse, meta-human adventures in metaverses. And the original inspiration, this goes to the Yoga Vashishta, which is one of the greatest texts of all time, where the great sage Vasishta, who's the guru to the incarnation of God, guru to God, Ram, Vashishta says, infinite universes come and go in the vast expanse of consciousness, like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light. As you may or may not know, quantum mechanics is a mathematical recipe for creating technology. 70% of our technology comes from the math of quantum mechanics. But if you go to Wikipedia and you say, what are the interpretations of quantum mechanics? There are 20, 30 different interpretations. Nobody actually knows what it means. But one thing we know, it works. All our technology is based on it. Some people say you need consciousness to collapse the wave function. That's called the Copenhagen interpretation. There's another interpretation called time symmetric interpretation of quantum mechanics, where a future event or a future intended event collapses the wave function in the present. So, an intention in the future can change the appearance of space time and particles in the present moment. That's a teleological model for quantum mechanics. But right now, the most popular model for quantum mechanics is called the multiverse. Sounds similar to metaverse, okay? And if you want to read a physicalist explanation of the multiverse, in the book right now that's fashionable, it's circulating, it's called Something Deeply Hidden by Sean Carroll at Caltech. And he sits on the same desk as Richard Feynman, the same desk that Einstein sat on when he visited Caltech. So, modern science is saying there are infinite universes, infinite universes. We live in the Milky Way galaxy, and this universe, our present universe, has 2 trillion galaxies, 700 sextillion stars, uncountable trillions of planets. So here we are, human beings on a speck of dust somewhere in the junkyard of infinity talking about infinite universes. How is that arrogant, or is that even real? And I think it's real if we understand who we are, what fundamental reality is. So we are going to be announcing, in fact, not announcing, I'm announcing right now, Seva Love. The vision of Seva Love is also, amongst other things, NFTs for good. You know what NFTs are, non-fungible tokens. And so we're going to create these for improving the world. We're hopefully going to have an NFT gallery right here in Lake Nona. We're talking about that right now. One of the initiatives then of Seva Love is NFT for Good. The second is to create the multiverse, actually create the multiverse and have you, as meta humans, take adventures in the multiverse. So I need to explain what that means. But so the second aspect of Seva Love will be meta human adventures in the metaverse. And just like Disney has Disneyland, we'll have a Seva Land on metaverse, which means people can do service and they can be rewarded by Seva tokens. And then they can use the tokens to go to Whole Foods or whatever, or spend them anywhere else. The other thing that this Seva Love will do is actually create meta-human adventures for meta-humans. And so you're all invited to be meta-humans. And it will bring in together artists, scientists, humanitarians, and entertainers uh, that are committed to the well-being of communities globally, everywhere. First, we'll create them in the metaverse, and then they'll spontaneously spawn into local communities as well. And so, as we announced that, I just want to give a shout out to our team, which includes Gabriella Wright, she's right here, Nelson Diaz, Wisby, Matai Blacklock, Hadera, an organization called Infinite, an organization called Firestarter, CEO of which is Parul Gujral. So, this is our team. Okay, now, how do we connect longevity to meta-human adventures in the metaverse? Let's start just with that. What does it mean to be human? To be human today is to be a bundle of conditioned reflexes or nerves that's constantly being triggered by people and circumstance into predictable outcomes. To be human in our society today is to be a biological robot. Now, of course, biological robots can be assigned all kinds of tasks: do my laundry, clean up the apartment, create a painting, come up with a new technology. Biological robots can do that. We are biological robots too, because we're predictable. If I say something mean to you, you'll be offended for the rest of your life. If I say something nice to you, you'll be happy, at least for a few moments. That means you're at the mercy of every stranger on the street. That's what it means to be human. Seek validation. How many likes do I have? It is to be confusing yourself with your selfie. And it is to be under the spell or hypnosis of the conditioned mind. And the conditioned mind is a divided mind. It says there's me and there's the rest of the universe. And the conditioned mind is a polarized mind, conditioned by religion, conditioned by politics, conditioned by race, conditioned by ethnicity, conditioned by nationalism, conditioned by money, conditioned by the experiences of our ancestors, conditioned ever since humans started to create models of reality. They forgot what reality was, and that's actually what we call the state of grace that was sacrificed for the divided mind. What's the state of grace? It's the state of flow. It's the state of not only peak experiences but and peak moments, but always being in that state. To be in a state where you feel ultimate truth as ecstasy. You know, the word ecstasy comes from ektasis, stepping out. Stepping out of what? Stepping out of your identity as the conditioned human mind. This is the printout. This physical body is the printout of the conditioned human mind. So, again, in Eastern wisdom traditions, this is referred to as the pain and pleasure body. If I ask you to close your eyes right now and do nothing, you'll say, oh, become aware of this internal dialogue you're having. Somebody inside you is having a conversation with themselves. Big mystery who this is, but it can be figured out. But whoever this is who's having a conversation with themselves never shuts up. Okay? That conversation is going on right now, it's going on in your dreams, it even goes on in your deep sleep. You're not aware of it. There's a little bit of that conversation going on. Who's having that conversation? What is having that conversation? Because if the story is pleasant that you're remembering a story when you're having this conversation. You know, memories are also a very mysterious thing. until you retrieve the memory, there's no memory. So, till I ask you, what did you have for breakfast, till I ask you that question, there's no brain cell worrying about what did I have for breakfast. Okay, but as soon as I ask you a question, then the brain gets activated with what we call a neural correlate of the memory. But actually, when I ask you to, what did you have for breakfast? And you say scrambled eggs and toast and yogurt. Before you say that, there is no memory. As soon as you say it, you reconstruct an experience. You remember that which was dismembered. And so all memory is a remembrance, and therefore all memory exists only in imagination. Memory and imagination are the same thing. Memory and imagination are the same thing. And now the Eastern wisdom traditions take it even further. They say karma, memory, and imagination are the same thing. They take it even further. They say karma, memory, imagination, this body, and the universe are the same thing. Well, if they're the same thing, that means our body and the universe is the imagination of ourself. This body and this universe is the imagination of ourself. That internal dialogue, pleasure and pain, is printing out what we call the pain and pleasure body. You say, I want peace of mind. That's oxymoron. The mind is never at peace by nature. So there can never be anything called peace of mind. Mind is always turbulent, happy and turbulent, unhappy and turbulent, pleasure and turbulent, pain and turbulent. This is the karmic body. This earth is karma bhumi. And to be a victim of karma is to be a victim of memory and imagination. To transcend karma is to be free. So, meta-human is no longer human. It looks at the person that we call human as a process in awareness. Please, meta-human is not human. Meta-human looks at the human body-mind and the experience of the human body-mind as a process in itself. And when we say self, we don't mean a person. We mean the awareness which we call the self, in which the person and all the experiences of the person are seen as a process by the metahuman. And the metahuman then can direct that process into longevity, direct that process into a new experience of the world, meta world, new experience of the universe, metaverse, new experiences of many universes, metaverses. So these are meta-human adventures in the metaverse. Now, what we call the physical universe right now, I just told you, and the physical body, is an imagined projection of fundamental reality or existence. So even though this appears real, it is a fluctuating appearance of sensations, perceptions, images, feelings, and thoughts that we then codify as the physical body and the physical universe. Like this, there are infinite other lokas. The word loka in Sanskrit means location. In Latin, locus. So this is a loka where we are right now. Lake Nona, Human Performance Center, Florida, the United States, all the continents, looking up at the sky. This is our present loka that we have imagined. Okay, like this, we can imagine other lokas. We can embed ourselves in them, and then We are meta-humans having meta-human adventures. Now, I want to introduce the non-dual traditions to you right now, and I'll do it in three ways, and then see how out of that understanding can emerge the meta-human. So one of the metaphors I like to use is the the experience of of a tadpole becoming a frog. You know, tadpole doesn't look like a frog, right? But the other very interesting metaphor is the transition of a caterpillar into a butterfly. So, you know, caterpillar is a worm. And at a certain stage of its life, like any other organism, it starts to decay. And as its body decays, there are a few cells. I'm speaking metaphorically now because everything is metaphor. The world is metaphor. The world is symbolic representation of fundamental reality. But at a certain stage of its life, as the caterpillar dies, its body starts to putrefy. But there are a few cells in the body of the caterpillar that some people, some biologists refer to as the imaginal cells. The imaginal cells. And they start to connect with each other. There's just a few of them. They start to connect with each other and they don't putrefy. In fact, they use the putrefying body of the caterpillar as their nutritive soup, as their culture medium. And as the body decays, they connect and connect. And when that connection reaches a critical mass, then the butterfly is born. So just when the caterpillar thought the world was coming to an end, it emerged as a butterfly. That's meta-human, human to meta-human. Now, very interesting, if you do experiments on the caterpillar, you expose it to certain smells, trauma, whatever, even the butterfly remembers the experiences of the caterpillar. So memory never goes away because memory is where? In awareness. And awareness is formless. And so it only actualizes in the brain for us when we retrieve it. So and once we recognize that everything that we call reality emerges from a metaphor, as consciousness is expanded, we begin to understand the source of all experience, then we can change experience, whether it's the body, the mind, or the experience of the world. Okay, so now let me give you three examples. How are we doing for time? How much time do I have? 15 minutes. 15 minutes left? Okay. So we'll finish it in 15 minutes. Otherwise, we can't even post it. So it will be. Okay, three things. Let's take three things. Everyday experience. Two things are happening. There's a scenery and there's a seer right now. So right now you are enjoying what we call the scenery. The scenery includes your own physical body. It includes this room, includes what's outside this room. If you could go beyond that, it includes the state of Florida, the United States, and the stars and the moon. That's all part of the scenery. But there's something else which is part of the scenery, your thoughts. Because your thoughts are appearances in consciousness. Your emotions, your feelings, your imagination, that's your body, it's all part of the scenery. Why do we call it scenery? Because the scenery is changing all the time. The scenery has been changing since the day you embarked on this earth adventure as a fertilized ovum, and then zygote and embryo. That's part of the scenery. Your body is part of the scenery, but your thoughts are part of the scenery. Your imagination is part of the scenery. Everything that appears on the screen of consciousness, time, space, is part of the scenery. But there's one part of you that we call the seer that has never changed. You say, when I was 4 years old, when I was 15 years old, when I was a young adult, when I was in love, when I got divorced, same I. So that which we call I am is not changing. So I am is the seer, everything else is the scenery. I am doesn't change. I am zero entropy. The I am that you are now is the same I am when you were an embryo, even though right now you mostly have forgotten life as an embryo. You mostly have forgotten life as a baby. I am hasn't changed. Okay, so that's fundamental. I am. Second thing, just think about it. Every day we go through waking, dreaming, and sleeping. Right now, this is waking, which in the great wisdom traditions, the waking state is a lucid dream in a vivid now. But tonight you'll have a fuzzy dream, and then you'll go deep sleep. When you wake out of deep sleep, you say, it was so beautiful, I slept like a baby. So, what is it that experiences waking, dreaming, and sleeping? Waking, dreaming, and sleeping are the changing scenery. What is it? I am, not changing. And in Vedanta, we say we have different bodies: physical body, matter, energy, mental body, mind, intellect, ego, causal body, information, subtle karma, memory, desire, all part of the scenery. Okay, these are called the koshas, they're all part of the scenery. What is the witness? I am. So, what is I am? I am is fundamental reality. I am is existence. I am is formless. I am is infinite. I am has no location in space time. I am has no cause, acausal. I am is irreducible. I am is eternal. I am is not subject to birth and death. What is subject to birth and death are its fluctuations that we call waking, dreaming, and sleeping, that we call the body of matter, the body of energy, the body of the mind, the body of information, the body of genetic information, the body of force fields, gravity, all of that. But I am is eternal, without cause. If we can shift there, zero entropy. Okay, so quantum mechanics, and we are looking now something called quantum metabolism, where the arrow of time is bidirectional. This is the meta-human adventure. And we'll be creating this. We'll be creating this right there for you to experience like you experienced this. We won't know the difference between this, and this. And you can embed yourself, and we'll create new currencies. Ultimate idea, Sangha, Seva. So, as the Buddha said, take refuge in the Buddha, higher consciousness. Take refuge in the Dharma, purpose. Take refuge in the Sangha, community. Other people have said the same thing. Seva, service. Sangha, community. Sadhana or Simran, remembrance of who we are. And once we get to our identity, the great Indian poet Tagore said, in this playhouse of infinite forms, I caught sight of the formless. And so my life was blessed. When you understand that you are infinite and formless, then morphing will be just the assembly of experiences into new realities, because that's what we call our lifespan, a continuum of experiences. Who is having the experiences? I am. And when our identity shifts to that level of formless, infinite I am, as infinite possibilities, as infinite self organization, synchronicity, self regulation, self evolution, then we can slow the arrow of time, we can stop the arrow of time, and for a while, we can reverse the arrow of time as we embark on meta-human adventures in the metaverse. So when you have time, check out seva.love and more to come. And this is then the conclusion of today's satsang. Men's health awareness, the longevity experiment, and looking forward to meta-human adventures in the metaverse. Thank you. And
We do a 2-minute meditation, closing meta-human meditation.
okay, so let's do a 2-minute meditation. Let's call it the meta-human meditation. We'll just make it up. Okay, so close your eyes and observe your breath. And notice that the breath comes and goes. But I am is constant. Now listen to the sound of my voice or any other sound. Recognize it comes and goes, but I am is constant. Open your eyes, look around at objects, shapes, colors, forms. And as you look around, you see what you're looking at this evening, it'll look quite different. What you look at comes and goes, but I am is the singularity in which this coming and going is happening. Feel any emotion, feel love now by thinking of someone you love. Now have the experience of sadness by thinking of something that was a tragedy. These feelings, sadness, happiness, even love, even disgust, they come and go. I am is always there. So what's real? That which comes and goes, or that which never leaves? Never leaves in deep sleep, never leaves in dreams, never leaves in the so-called waking stage, which is also a lucid dream in a vivid now. Okay, now just repeat your full name to yourself. I'm Deepak Chopra, I'm Susan Smith. Susan Smith and Deepak Chopra are part of the scenery. They come and go. I am never leaves. Because I am was never born, and I am does not die. The Bhagavad Gita says of it, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it, weapons cannot shatter it, fire cannot burn it. It is ancient, it is unborn, and it is not subject to death. And that is who you are. Tat Tvam Asi. You are that, I am that, all this is that, and that alone is. And what is that? I am. So before we finish, just repeat to yourself, I am that I am. And it can reinforce, I am timeless. I am infinite possibilities. I am infinite creativity. I am infinite universes. I am is metahuman. I am is ready to adventure in metaverses. Now, let go even of I am and just rest in your own being, your presence. Rest in I am without naming it. Because even though we call it I am, it is unnameable. Just rest in the presence of infinite awareness. The divine presence that makes every scenery possible. Please relax into your body and open your eyes. You have questions or?
I want to finish this, go offline, and then go for questions.
Okay.
मनोबुद्ध्यहङ्कार चित्तानिनाहम् न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च